So I travel a lot, but as a 3D artist, I need a lot of processing power and usually just a full-size GPU because laptops, especially MacBooks, suck at 3D. Any Windows PC, you're paying $3,000–4,000 for half the performance of a rig like this. So for the last few weeks, I've been searching for a way to bring this level of processing power with me while being able to just use my laptop. But the problem is, even if I built a mini ITX build with a 4090 in it, which is possible, I've seen people do it on YouTube and I'm gonna do it with a 5090. Even if I turned this into a mini ITX build with a 4090 in it, trying to bring all of my peripherals, my monitor, everything else with me would be an absolute pain. So I've been searching for a way that I can use a PC and completely control it with my laptop. I wanted my laptop to be the only screen that I'm using. I wanted little to no latency, and I didn't want any artifacting or any problems that come with all of the remote desktop software. I have tried things like Parsec, TeamViewer, and every remote desktop display I could find. I was looking at things like Luna Display or hybrid approaches where I could try to get my MacBook to not only be the display for my PC, but also just to control it and be the input. But it felt like everything that I tried either introduced a lot of latency, like a lot of latency, or a lot of issues. And my one thing I wanted to do was have one cable be connecting the two of them, because I want this setup to be easy to travel with, easy to set up, and simple to use. And I didn't want to sacrifice any quality of what my experience was like or what I was working. So after tons of testing and experimenting and trying different things and hours wasted on this, I finally have figured out a way to make my Mac control my PC. So that way all I need to bring with me when I travel is a mini ITX PC and my MacBook. And the only three things that you're gonna need are an Ethernet cable. I didn't have a shorter one for this video, a USB-C to Ethernet adapter for the MacBook, and an HDMI or DisplayPort dummy plug. So we need to do a little bit of setup here. Our goal is to set up a private separate Ethernet network between our two computers and then have Moonlight control them locally over our Ethernet connection while they're still connected to their own Wi-Fi networks. So the first thing that you're gonna need to do is take your USB-C to Ethernet adapter and plug it into your MacBook. With my specific adapter, I've noticed that I have a lot of problems if I try to plug in this first or plug this into the adapter and then plug it in. So we're gonna take our Ethernet adapter and we're going to plug that right into our PC. And then we're gonna take the other end of that and connect it to our MacBook. Quick disclaimer, really quick, as we're setting this up, I don't have a way for it to skip the login screen right now, and so Moonlight and my Mac can't connect to this until it's logged in. So I'm probably just gonna disable the login screen, but until that, I'm just gonna go ahead and use my wireless keyboard to sign in to the MacBook. So you're probably gonna need to do that at some point because you can't just quite launch it headless right now, but since I already have this all set up, I'm gonna be able to control it from here just for this video. You're gonna go to Network Settings and then Ethernet, and then we're gonna go down to the connection that we're using for the MacBook. I've got two Ethernet outputs on my PC, and we're going to, on IPSM in here, we're gonna hit Edit, and for IP address, you can kind of type in whatever you want. We're gonna do 192.168.169.1, and then for subnet mask, you can do 255.255.255.0, and then you can hit Save. And what we're doing here is we're assigning our PC a static IP address for this connection, and we're going to go onto our MacBook and then set up the same settings essentially. Also, I will say, I don't know if this is just my Mac or if it's an issue I'm having, but I've found that I have an M1 Max MacBook Pro. I have found that plugging in the Ethernet seems to work when I put it on the right Thunderbolt. I don't know if that's a wiring thing or maybe there's something I'm missing, but I had to finagle things a little bit to get that to work. But once we're here, we're gonna go into our network settings, and then you should find your Ethernet adapter in here. And I've already got this all set up, but what we're gonna do is go to Details, go to your TCP IP, and it's probably gonna be set to using DHCP automatically. So you're gonna go to Manually, and then we're gonna type in the first three sections of numbers that we put in for IP address over here. So 192.168.169, and then with this last number, you can make whatever you want, but just for simplicity, so we only have two devices on one local network, and this is our whole network right here, I'm just gonna do 2. And then on subnet mask, you can do 255.255.255.0, and you are good to go. You can leave everything else empty. You don't need to put anything for router, leave IPv6 to automatic, okay. And then what you should see at the beginning is it says self-assigned IP address. And now after setting this up, it should say connected. Now what we need to do is install NVIDIA GeForce Experience on our PC here. You can also use Sunlight if you're running the NVIDIA app. What we're going to be using is their game stream. So we're going to go to our NVIDIA GeForce Experience, we're going to go to Shield, and we're going to enable game streaming. Now on our other computer, we're going to go ahead and connect to this computer. Now you're still going to need your monitor for this part because there's going to be a pop-up on here that's going to say, hey, what's the pin that this computer is asking for? And you're going to give it permission for the devices that connect. Once you've done that, you never need to do it again. I will say I have these on separate Wi-Fi networks, so that way each of them has their own Wi-Fi, so they're not going to use Wi-Fi to establish their peer-to-peer connection. And the reason we're doing that is because we want zero latency and we want as much bit rate as we possibly can get. And luckily, with our Ethernet connection here and not using Wi-Fi or anything wireless, we're going to have almost no latency. So we can go ahead and connect. There is a app that you can set up, so that way you just click here and it launches the desktop. I haven't set that up yet, so it's just going to launch Steam for me when I connect. Now, you're going to need a monitor to get all of this set up so far on your PC, but since I've already done that, this is where you can go ahead and plug in your dummy plug. You're just gonna plug that right into your graphics card. So Moonlight needs a video feed to harvest, basically. And the GPU is not gonna produce that unless we plug in a dummy plug and it thinks. So we've got our dummy plug plugged into our PC, and the only thing that I've got, the only cable I've got coming out of this right now is my power cable. There's nothing else plugged in. We are running on Wi-Fi for our connection. There's no video output, no inputs for anything. So before we get connected, there is a couple settings that we want to change. We want to set our resolution and FPS to native. If you want to exclude the little notch on the top of your MacBook, you can set that to the excluding notch resolution. So we're gonna go ahead and set it to native. We're gonna leave our FPS at 60. I know the Mac can technically do 120 Hertz with their ProMotion display. Our HDMI dummy plug has a problem with that for some reason. Maybe I need to get a nicer plug. I also don't know if the ProMotion display is true 120 or if that's just some software, whatever that's going on, but 60 has been plenty for me. 60 is what I'm used to working out with all my monitors. Anyways, our video bit rate, make sure you drag this up from, I think it starts around 60 all the way up to 150 Hertz because we're doing wired. This is gonna give us the best picture possible and actually gonna put the least amount of load on the GPU because it's trying to do the least amount of compression. You can enable VSync if you want. I have not enabled VSync because I haven't had much of a problem with it before. I'm gonna keep display mode on full screen. I'm going to uncheck optimize game settings for streaming because again, we're wired, it doesn't matter. We want the most quality we can get. Over here on our input settings, we're going to click optimize mouse for remote desktop instead of games because we're not just gaming. We're trying to use this pretty much like a remote desktop. We can skip all of these. Video decoder and video codec, I've just left those on automatic. I haven't had much of a problem with them. If you're going to set the decoder, I would say forced hardware decoding because that's going to make sure that the GPU on our MacBook is actually doing the video decoding to reduce any latency. And then video codec, if your devices support AV1, you can do AV1. I would recommend H.265 because if you've got new hardware, they'll have no problem doing that. And H.265 is a lot more efficient of a codec than H.264. So the PC is going to be able to send more data more efficiently over the network using H.265. It doesn't matter for the amount of data we're sending, but again, the more compression that this has to do and the more uncompression that this has to do, the more encoding and decoding, the more latency we're going to get. So I'm just going to leave this on automatic. It should do the best. If you want YUV444, that gives you better color. For some reason, every time I launch, it's telling me that my PC does not support that, which I don't think is true. You're gonna probably also want to check unlock bitrate limit. Again, we're using wired connection, bitrate doesn't matter. So once we've got that all set up, we can just go over here and we're gonna launch Steam, which is gonna launch Steam in big picture mode on our PC, but we can just tab out of that and then close it out. So we're gonna hit that and it's gonna say starting stream. And if you're at this step, you should be all good to go. So Steam just launched in big picture mode, and as you can tell right now, we've got a weird quality issue. So we're going to press Option Tab to tab out of this because our controls are switched for Command and Alt and Control. We're gonna go back to our settings. We can go ahead and close out of this. We're going to go to our display settings. So even though our receiving side of Moonlight on our PC is ready to receive everything in 3345 by 2234, our display resolution automatically defaults to 720p. Now, if you're using Sunshine instead of NVIDIA GeForce Experience, which you can use on your PC on the receiver or the host side, there are some scripts that you can set up that will automatically adjust the display resolution. Because I'm using NVIDIA GeForce instead of trying to use Sunshine, I'm not going to use that script, but what we need to do is set a custom display resolution on our PC so that way it's sending the correct resolution back to our Mac. So in the search panel, we can go to NVIDIA Control Panel. This is where we're going to be able to set our custom resolution. You go to change resolution. We'll see the display you'd like to change, the MITV, which is going to be our HDMI dummy plug. So we're going to hit customize, and then I've already got one created, but we're going to go to create custom resolution. And if you are on a MacBook, you're going to want to set this to whatever resolution your PC, you're going to want to set this to whatever resolution your screen is. If you're on a Windows PC that uses a standard 16:9 resolution, you're probably not going to have to do this. Just go click your drop down bar, set it to that. But if you're using a MacBook, because Mac has different display ratios and they don't quite use 4K, you're going to want to match this to whatever this is. If you are on a 16-inch MacBook Pro like I am, your horizontal resolution is going to be 3456 and your vertical resolution is going to be 2234. And then what you're going to do is hit test, and then mine already exists since I already made it, but what this is going to do is just turn that on for a sec, make sure it works before it keeps your display there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit custom on this and hit OK. And then we're going to go back to our display settings, click the drop down, and now we should have a new drop down here for 3456 by 2234. I'm going to go ahead and click that and keep changes. Here we go. Now you'll notice up in the top left here, we've got all of our settings. You can remove those or show them by pressing Control Option Shift S and they'll disappear, or you can press that again, Control Option Shift S and they're back. So we can see our total latency, what we're getting here on our frame rate. So it's using HEVC, which is H.265, which is good. It's nice and efficient. And we can go ahead and launch something like Blender. Now, a big reason why I chose Moonlight is it doesn't hog my GPU. Stuff like Parsec, even though it works, needs both clients to have an internet connection. And when I'm traveling, I really just want this connected to the Wi-Fi. And I don't want them on the same network. And if I'm at an Airbnb, I can't guarantee that they're gonna have a guest network or 6 gigahertz network or whatever, and I can keep them separate. So really what I need is only this one to be connected to the Wi-Fi, and I need it to not hog my GPU resources doing all of the encoding. So Moonlight uses about 5% of the GPU, and on some tests I was doing to test render speeds running Moonlight and test render speeds not running Moonlight, I was only seeing about a 5 to 7% difference, and 5 to 7% hit on a 4090 is way better than a 100% hit if you take a 4090 laptop version. We're gonna go ahead and download a scene to test it, but basically now I am running a full Windows PC on my MacBook, and this is being my keyboard, this can be my mouse, and it's being my display. Look at that, beautiful. Turn off denoising. My MacBook Pro could never render at this speed. Looks good. Let's test some gaining. Look at that. Perfect, no latency, no issues. The mouse is responding immediately to my inputs. Actually, I'm using a wireless mouse and I have the mouse connected to the PC right now, not my MacBook. So actually I'm knocking off however many 1 millisecond of delay time on my mouse input. But we're getting no artifacts, we're getting no issues, no noise because we have our bitrate set so high. And I'm basically gaming on a Mac right now. So the only thing that we've got plugged into the desktop is a power cable, and the only thing we have connecting these two is our Ethernet cable. So obviously this PC is way too big to travel with, but I'm going to be building a mini ITX build here soon with a 5090 in it that's going to fit in my hard case, and so I'll be able to travel with my MacBook in my backpack, still get everything that's on my Mac, use it for video editing, and have the 4090 with me with 128 or maybe 96 gigs of RAM, depending on which kind of motherboard I end up going with. But I will be able to take a full 4090 or 5090 with me anywhere around the world, and all I need to bring to control it is a laptop. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check us out on forma3dstudios.com, and we'll see you on the next video when I build the mini ITX build for travel.